know, believe it's Thursday again already, and you'll see that there's slightly less of us here than we said. So unfortunately, Penny can't be with us today as she's got some medical emergency in the family, and we're sending all of our love and hoping everything goes well. And Leslie is also unable to join us, so she'll be joining us again once Penny's back. So you're here today with the three of us. We thought we would perhaps try and talk about something that is coming up a lot for us and for our clients in business, which is procrastination. But before we get to that, in the week that has allowed us to actually go out and go in, and no longer sit freezing in the cold, desperately trying to feel our toes just because we want to connect with people. I wonder what's been showing up for you girls this week. So, Caroline, can I start with you, please, my lovely?
Well, there's been a lot of lunches and a lot of evening meals. So I'm out tonight, and I actually cancelled a lunch tomorrow because I'm out tomorrow night. So it would have been lunch and dinner tomorrow night. So that's enough. That's enough now. So I'm pacing myself for the first time in my life. But I really love the fact that there's no restrictions as such now. And you can feel certainty about going out and popping in places and not sitting in the Arctic weather. And although it is taking a little bit of time to get used to, it's like the lockdown's been with us for so long that we actually went somewhere for lunch yesterday. And we said, is it okay if we? And you're like having to ask permission to go out a door or sit here. Or it's like we're kind of like children. We need to be told what to do, which I don't really like that. But hopefully that will go soon. But yes, had a great week, and really getting back into it again feels amazing. Just want the sun to come out now.
I know, it would be lovely if the sun was out. And I must admit, I'm off tonight for date night with my little girl, who was beside herself with excitement this morning as she ran into nursery to let them know she wouldn't be having tea with them because she's having calamari and steak. That's my 4-year-old for you. So at least she's got a good plan. How about you, Sam? How's your week been?
Wow, how the 4-year-olds rock nowadays. Calamari and steak. What was wrong with chicken nuggets and chips, kid? Yeah, my week started off beautiful because I had the pleasure of meeting up with my gorgeous blondes, and we had a lovely lunch together, very civilized, very grown up, of course. It was great to see you ladies and obviously be inside and catch up and talk business blondes and all the exciting things that we've got coming up. So that was lovely. So that started off really well. And we were just saying actually how lovely it is to put a booking in, meet a client for lunch, knowing that you'll be able to feel your toes at the end of a couple of hours meeting, which is really good. But yeah, procrastination, I'm really looking forward to today's chat because it's rife in business, no matter what the environment, pandemic, no pandemic, who you are, what level you are. We all love a procrastination. We all love to procrastinate about anything. Right now, I'm procrastinating over my diet, that's for sure. So yeah, looking forward to this, ladies.
Yeah, no, it should be good. And I know how you feel. I mean, certainly I'm suffering from the lockdown lumber and really needing to actually stop eating. Just eat a little bit less, move a little bit more. I mean, we know that that's what we're supposed to do. And yet for some reason, although I can say the words, I can't take the action. So maybe I just don't need it enough yet. But my genes are telling me I do. So I think there needs to be some help in my procrastination. But I know equally, often for people in business, it can be the thing that holds us back, the bit that we know that we should be doing, the bit that we know that actually it's the uncomfortable truth. We know we need to do it, we know we don't want to do it, and we find anything possible not to do it, to just give ourselves time. But how are you guys finding it with your clients? Is procrastination being one of their problems right now?
I think it's the number one thing that holds us all back. And sometimes it's fear, it's our lack of confidence. I usually say to my clients, procrastination is usually multifaceted. So it's usually fear of the thing, fear of failure, not knowing what you're doing. So it could be confusion and lack of knowledge, lack of support, or this job was going to take so long, or it might get rejected. So there's lots and lots of negative dialogue going around the thing you're avoiding. And if you can pinpoint what it is, so it might be, I'm worried about the tech. I'm avoiding it because I don't know the tech, or I think it won't be good enough. Really go into that fear and say, is it real? Can I get support? Can I get someone to give me a second opinion? Or am I over dramatizing it? Because we all know the things we put off, when we actually do them, we think, why did I put them off? And we took 5 minutes, and you feel fantastic afterwards. But at the time, you hit this wall of, I can't, I don't want to, anything in the fridge looks better than this, the washing up, the, clearing up, anything looks better than the task in front of you. And I had a couple of things like that this week. And when I'd done it, I thought, that was easy. And I feel lighter. Why didn't I do it before? So it's kind of like a mental congestion. And I said to a client the other day, and he has a lot of admin and paperwork to do, don't have a conversation with yourself about it. It's like the Nike, just do it. Don't say, oh, I don't really want to do it, but don't get into that dialogue with yourself. Action beats any kind of procrastination. So any simple step you can take usually means you start the process of getting into action there. But we all hit that wall, and we have to come up with strategies, tools and techniques to work us through it. That glass of wine, that cup of coffee, that I'll buy this or I'll go for a walk, that little golden carrot at the end of it does help. What do you girls do to help you get over a kind of onerous task?
Oh, great question. And I guess for me, which is probably why I've got lockdown lumber, I try and attack life in the same way I attack food, by eating the thing I don't like first, so that I can reward myself with the thing I do. And I've been trying desperately to do the same when it comes to my business. So making sure that before I start the day and do any of the things I really want to do, I tackle the thing I least want to do, because it's never as bad as you think it is. It's like, whenever in kind of my leadership roles, whenever you had a difficult conversation to have, it's better to just have it, because it never goes as badly as you thought it was going to do. And actually all it stops you then doing is having it in your head again and again and again, building that dread. So I've taken to, at the end of every day, writing down what is the 2 things I have to do before I'm allowed to do anything else the next day, but keeping it to 2, because one of the things that I was really, really bad at was filling myself up an amazing to-do list of hundreds of things, many of which were completely unimportant, just so that I could be proud of the fact that I ticked them off. So I'm trying to now make sure it's the needle movers. But Sam, how about you, my lovely?
I think that's a really good tip, actually. I read a great book once. I can't remember the author, and there's a swear word in the title, but it was basically get bleep done. And I've recommended it to loads of people, but it says the same thing, Kim. It's about, I love a list. I'm a right list lover, and I'll even do that crazy thing of adding something to the list that I've done, just so I can have that pleasure in crossing it off. But it said that, like, look at your list, by all means, write a list, but then just pick 3 things. So 3 of the big rocks that you need to achieve that day, and just that's your new list. So just focus on those 3 things. But when it comes to procrastination, I'm really rewards driven. So I remember back in my training, so sales training, I used to knock on doors. So picture this in the dismal, drainy, dreary, industrial, big industrial estates in Essex. There was I about 13, 14 years ago, knocking on doors, trying to sell business coaching. And I was a big smoker at the time. And I used to say, right, you knock on 30 doors and you can go to that Costa over the road and get a fag and a coffee. That's your reward. So if I felt myself procrastinating, and I used to listen to all these big CDs at the time, that's how many years ago it was, in the car going, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I'd knock on the doors, and slowly but slowly I'd be like, but it was like, no, because my Costa and my fag is coming. And so I'm a very rewards driven sort of person. If I find myself procrastinating, I focus on the reward.
I love it. That is great advice. And it's funny, I've just finished listening to an audible book, which is my latest fad to myself, which is actually rewarding myself when I'm doing a task that I really don't enjoy by listening to a really good book. And I've just been listening to the 4-Hour Working Week, and it talks very much about picking those 1 or 2 things that are really going to make the difference, and then focus on those, get those done, rather than fill yourself like 10 hours worth of stuff that's not actually moved you forward at all. But Caroline, what books might you suggest for us that help us really kind of get out of our way?
Yeah, the 4-Hour Work Week is amazing because it's basically how to create shortcuts when there's difficult tasks ahead. I think there's one about how to eat a frog, and that's a very famous book. But you can Google millions of these, and there are so many tools and techniques. But at the end of the day, it has to come down to, and this sounds really odd, and I said it to my client yesterday who's got so much paperwork. It's an act of self-love to not procrastinate. I'm going back to my life coaching here, which is, don't make yourself suffer. And I used to say, how long do you want to suffer with this really difficult task? Is this a 3-day sufferance? Is it a 10-day agony? Or is it a 3-month absolute torture? Now, when you put it that way, how long do I want to suffer with this? Well, actually, no time at all. Who wants to suffer? So that's your intention. I like myself enough or love myself enough to not want to go through this ordeal. I'm going to bust it. Now, that's one way of coming at it. Like, I don't want to suffer anymore.
I love that. That's such a great way, isn't it? To kind of realise that actually all you're doing is making your own life harder by dealing with the problem for longer. And I guess it's a little bit like when you've got a plaster, isn't it? The best way to get it off is quickly, because it isn't gonna hurt any less, but at least the pain will be over a little bit faster. But I did hear a great tip on passionately procrastinating. So that's when you kind of get stuck and you're desperately trying to answer a problem and you can't, and you kind of sit there, and we've all done it, haven't we? You sit at your computer and you won't move because you've got to get this thing done, and yet you just can't come up with the answer. And there's a tip, the tip I was given by a psychologist, which is, if you write it to yourself like a question, and you write it down in a book, and then you close the book and you put the book on your shelf, and you trust that your subconscious brain is going to deal with that for you. And it sounds really, really weird, but I promise you it works. You go back to it between 5 and 7 days later, and you read the question out loud, and you'll be amazed how quickly the answer comes back. And you kind of there think, God, I spent hours painfully trying to come up with that when I was sat doing it. And actually, sometimes you've just got to trust that your subconscious is actually going to deal with it, in the same way that sometimes, we turn up at home, don't we? And we can't really remember every moment of the last journey, particularly the nursery run, because actually our subconscious has got our back. Sam, have you got any other unusual tips to help people when they're stuck with a problem? Oh. And we've lost Sam.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. I apologise. Haven't got any useful tips about procrastination. I think that everybody's different, as we know, and everybody deals with things in their own way. So you've got to find what works for you. And I think, like I just said, I am completely rewards driven. I am a towards pleasure sort of person. Lots of people are away from pain sorts of people. So I think you have to recognise, like in every area of life, where your triggers are and what works for you. What works for me might not work for you, Kim or Caroline, or anybody else that's watching. So it's about, being self-aware, using your emotional intelligence, and really knowing what drives you. I procrastinate running all the time. And my eldest son, Ted, always says to me, Mum, you've had your trainers on for like 3 hours. When are you actually going to go out? And I think, at that point, it's sort of like, yeah, I've really been putting this off for far too long now. But then I think about, okay, so if I go out now, I'll be back in like 35 minutes. I've normally done my 5K within 35 minutes. And then I can sit down and have that coffee and just relax. And that's my pleasure. You all know I'm a coffee snob. So again, it's just about finding what works for you, isn't it? I know people that like that book, Eat the Frog, they have to do it first thing. You know, if they've got something they need to do, they have to get up, they have to get it done, because it's keeping them awake. It's really, really consuming them, and it's stressing them and causing them anxiety. But I can wallow in my procrastination for hours and hours without it getting to me. And it's normally that reward that finally gets me out the door, or gets me to tackle those 3 big rocks that are on my list.
I love it. And you're right. Sometimes having that reward, allowing yourself something to look forward to, can be the thing that spurs us on, doesn't it, to finally do the thing you're dreading. But I think for me, it's kind of like it's looking at what are the things that I dread the most, and they're usually the things where you think it might be an uncomfortable conversation, or it might be you need something from somebody else that you're not certain they're going to want to do. And I think you can really get yourself lost in having that debate in your head. They're going to say this, they're going to do that, they're going to come up with the other. And when you go and have that conversation, it never goes that way. People aren't as obstinate as I think they're going to be in my head. And yet often I can have really driven myself crazy thinking through all the scenarios of what might have gone. But is there, when you've got a conversation that you're dreading, or when you've got perhaps it's making that sales call, perhaps it's going out and kind of drumming up the business, have you got any tips, Carol-Anne, that you can share with us on how you best tackle that and stop having the conversation in your head?
Yes, well, having an accountability coach or a buddy does help. So you could say, by the end of the day, check in with me and I will say I've done that. So that's, you know, and you could talk it through with that coach or that friend. I've got to have this difficult conversation. This is what I think might happen. This is what may not happen, and kind of weigh up the possibilities, but also stay in the moment. If in the present moment, anything is possible. So be curious rather than frightened, because curiosity breeds courage, because you think, I don't know what they're going to say. It could be really good, it may not be, but if I stay in the moment, I'll deal with whatever comes along. So having someone there to talk it through before you do it and to hold you accountable so that you do it. But I remember really kind of your rewards driven, Sam, a really spiteful one that I was taught when I was a coach is, if you really want to do something and it's a horrible job or a horrible phone call or a horrible conversation, if you don't do it, there will be punishment. And the punishment is you have to put £20 in an envelope and send it to the person you most dislike anonymously. So they open the post in the morning and someone sent them £20. So that is actually quite a nasty spur to make you do it. So you put it in the envelope, think of your worst enemy, someone you used to work with, or I don't know, a neighbour that's not unpleasant, and you think, right, if I don't do it, and you hand that to your friend and says, I will post this if you don't do it. And you know what? You tend to do it. You tend to do it. So it's worth it. It's a bit of a nasty one, but it makes you do the tough stuff.
That is so nasty. That really is. I'm going to stick to my towards pleasure rather than the punishment. But I can see how that would be effective, Carol-Anne. That really would. But I think what you said earlier is so right. We procrastinate due to fear most of the time. And what you said, Kim, is also correct about, you know, fear is just false expectations appearing real, isn't it? So it's never as bad as we think it's going to be. You know, knocking on those doors on the industrial estates in Basildon, I just remember those like it was yesterday, just knowing the people are going to go, jog on, Sam, keep going, keep walking. And, you know, but actually I met some really lovely people, had some really great conversations, and sold a few and had some great coffee. So it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. It's just that real fear of maybe rejection, of insecurity, of I'm not good enough, or the whole imposter Kim that comes out in us, you know, whenever we don't need it to. And so it's just really about finding, as you said, that courage, and curiosity breeds courage. I really like that. I'm gonna remember that one, Carol-Anne. Thank you.
Yeah, it does, because you just think, if I walk in this room, I don't want to walk in this room full of people, but if I go to a place of curiosity rather than fear of the bad things that might happen, curiosity says anything can happen. It turns, if only into what if. What if everyone likes me, or I meet a great friend, or I get a great contact? That is curiosity And if you go there rather than, oh no, I'm going to be rejected, no one will talk to me, I'll come away with nothing, you're setting yourself up for a lot of hurdles there. But just keeping in the present and being curious really does give you a nice sort of passport to whatever might be. It's a way in.
It's a way in. I like that. Somebody once said to me, going back to again this sales training, that just go and find some friends. Don't go for the sale. Don't knock on a door in bleary old Basildon and think you're going to get a sale. Just go and find a new friend. And I think again that takes the fear away and that makes it a lot more curious.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we change our expectation, we change our outcome, don't we? Yeah. So if we go in and we think about actually what might happen. In fact, I was chatting about this just a bit ago. We were doing a different live on the fear we sometimes create. So I went to my first networking event as a self-employed person, and I was sat outside in the car, terrified, thinking I can't possibly go in. You know, I'm used to having a big title and a big brand, and it's just going to be little old me. And it was ridiculous. I sat in that car for ages until I had a word with myself and went, seriously, Kim? You're sat outside an Indian restaurant in an industrial estate in Sleaford. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just get out of the car and go in. It's like, you know, it's an hour of your life and nothing horrendous is going to happen. And I forced myself to go in and ended up meeting some amazing people, including a good friend of mine now, Nick, who happened to live 3 streets away from me back where I live in Grantham with his wife and his daughter. And you know, she had just... his daughter had just gone into remission from a really rare cancer where she could have lost her leg, and thank the Lord she didn't. But I remember saying to him, you know, I happen to be connected with Mark Woods, who's the Paralympic gold medalist who lost his leg to the same cancer at 17. Would it help if I connected you up? And he was like, you'd do that? And it's probably why I'm in an Indian restaurant in Sleaford at lunchtime on an industrial estate. You know, we are where we are for a reason if we just allow ourselves to be curious about that reason. And sometimes that one reminds me of the fact that actually, you know, I was procrastinating getting out of the car. I wouldn't even make it into the building because I'd convinced myself of all these horrendous, terrifying things that were going to happen. And yet, the reality is everybody in that room probably felt equally nervous, equally concerned that they were going to get sold to or disliked or judged or something else that actually just didn't happen.
And isn't it lovely when the outcome is so different to what you expect? So whatever you're procrastinating about, you know, whether it's doing a chore or a task or meeting somebody or, you know, a sale or a network, whatever it is, it's lovely, isn't it, when that outcome is so unexpected. And you know, you met a great friend there and you built a relationship, and that's totally the opposite of what you thought would happen when you were sitting in that car, you know, outside, just fearing the unknown, which is what fear really is, isn't it? The unknown.
I do think in business we have to challenge the things that we're frightened of, because therein lies the obstacle between you and success. So we can all do the easy stuff, that's nice, but if there's things that are coming up that you think I'm going to avoid that's usually where the best learning is and the best development. So it's a bit like when you go to the gym and you think, I'm not going on that because that really hurts. I'm just going to go on all the nice bits over here that just give me a little bit of a stretch, but that one over there's a killer. Well, that one over there that's the killer is going to develop the muscles that aren't being developed. So you might as well bite the bullet and go over and give it a little go, and then you'll develop that muscle. And it's a bit like everything in our business that we say, oh no, that's not for me, I hate that. Oh no, I'm not doing that, I can't do that. That's the bit you need to develop, because that could be the missing bit of your business success. So see it as kind of medicine you have to take in order to get well.
No pain, no gain, as they say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. And actually, once you start it though, or once you kind of bite the bullet and get on the thing that's going to hurt you, or go and do that skill that's going to develop you, all of a sudden it becomes less difficult, doesn't it? It's something that, and actually, how many of us have ended up enjoying something that we had dreaded? for such a long period that we kind of there going, I wish I'd done this years ago, because actually I'm really loving it. And yet I convinced myself for years that it was something that I wasn't going to enjoy, I wasn't going to be good at, or I wasn't going to be able to make work for me. And I now try, when I can, to look at all things in life as, what am I going to learn from this? I'm either going to learn that I dislike it as much as I thought I was going to, or I'm going to learn that actually it's not as bad as I thought. Either way, I'll have moved forward from where I am.
It's funny because
sorry, Caroline, go on.
I was going to say, last year when we first went into lockdown, I wanted to say to my graduates, this is a time to really get your acts together, everybody, and start getting downloadable coaching programs together, or online coaching. And I wanted to do a pep talk for them. And I said I was going to do a Facebook Live just for my graduates, because I'm a technologically big dunce cap on. I didn't wear makeup. I had my hair up. I'd been for a run, and I was only going to talk to my students. I pressed the wrong button and I went universal. Practically, they got me in Japan or somewhere. And I was broadcasting like in my worst. And I suddenly realized what I was doing, and I looked dreadful. And I just, I thought, well, I can either switch it off, which will look bizarre, or carry on. And I carried on. And I was like, great uncle so-and-so from someone was saying, oh, I like the video. And I was like, oh no, I now get it. People are watching me that aren't in the little group that I originally, and I carried on going, and I made people laugh. I was absolutely sweating blood with embarrassment, but I carried on. I did 20 minutes as if I was talking to the graduates. I got so many likes afterwards. So that was really refreshing. Thank you. And I was like, oh, it's kind of like, I wouldn't have ever done that, but it got me over the fear of doing it. You know, it was like a real initiation of walking into a room where you've got nothing on, and like, oh, and, you know, like, how did that happen? I caught my dress in the door, and you know, it's like, oh, but it was like, it was my worst nightmare, but I lived it and I survived it.
I live it. Loads of likes, because actually that's what people are wanting now, isn't it? Is authenticity. And you know, I think one of the posts that I ever did that got the most likes was literally a no makeup selfie when I turned 47, on the whole, do you know what, this is what it looks like to be 47. But not everybody gets the privilege of being that old. So even though it might not be pretty, it is real, and I'm really proud of it. And I think people sometimes, they just want to know that, do you know what, we all have those moments, don't we? We all have those bits where we're like, we hope nobody, you know, sees us without our makeup on, or, you know, looking a little bit scruffy, or having come in from a run. You know, I'm one of these people that didn't matter how much I exercised. I used to run for the county, and yet I've still always been one of those people that the second I do any form of exercise, it's go be red. I turn into a beetroot, and it just isn't a good look. But it's like, we've all been there, haven't we?
And it's your look, and you've got to own it, you know. And you're right, people love the real, unfiltered you. And there's a big initiative, isn't there? I know the Loose Women are pushing it, you know, hashtag real lives or something like that. But it's all about, you know, trying to educate young women and men into just being unfiltered on social media, which I think would be a great thing. Probably because I don't know how to use the filters anyway. So that would be great. But I think when it comes to procrastination, when it comes to fear, when it comes to, you know, not doing what we need to do, not exercising those business muscles that we need to exercise, I think this is really where us coaches come alive. And that's when people come and see us, isn't it? When they've reached that plateau point, when they know that actually they're not doing something that they need to do that's going to get them to that next level. That's when they engage with a coach. Just like, you know, that's why I might go and engage with a fitness coach, or I think I need a hypnotherapist right now to get me out of my eatings, you know. But I know that I need some help, and I'll go and find that help when the time's right for me. And I think, you know, it's about surrounding, as we've said before, surrounding yourself with the right people, having your right network of experts that are going to get you to where you want to be. And that's how I overcome my procrastination. And in fact, a couple of years ago, when I'd reached that point in my business, I found you guys. That's when I joined the mastermind and found you, and went on to launch the things that I wanted to do. So it works.
That's brilliant.
And can you believe we're almost out of time, ladies? It always goes so quickly. So Caroline, have you got one final tip for us, please?
Yeah, love yourself enough to not want to suffer with it anymore. Just do the darn thing and don't have a conversation with it.
I love it. Brilliant advice. Sam?
Thank you.
Yeah, do those 3 things. So get your long list and just pick out 3. Eat that frog, eat the elephant, whatever one you want to do it. But yeah, get just 3 things. That's all you need to focus on.
I love that. So I agree. I think you've got to love yourself and then focus on the 1 or 2 things that are just going to move the needle forward. And just trust yourself that actually you've survived 100% of the challenges life's thrown at you so far. So you've got a pretty good batting average. Trust that the next one is going to be one you survive too. If you would like to join us here, then please do get in touch at www.businessblondes.tv. And until next time, take care, stay safe and enjoy. Bye.